Day 34. Happy to see you all. What I was bringing up was before we get into our session today, I want you to try to reflect on the first time you were told about presence, the now, be here now. And I imagine, just as it was for me, it is confusing because the immediate assumption is I'm already here. Where else would I be but now? And so there is a quality of absurdity in this game, in this pursuit of presence, because the immediate thought is, I am already where you're telling me to go. And there's value in this. Once we are enticed enough to reach for this absurd and creative and confounding direction, a new horizon in the sort of landscape of our life as journey emerges seemingly out of nowhere. And for some, like us, like you, that horizon proves to be enticing enough to warrant our time and our energy and pursuit. And so that's the idea. The reason I'm bringing this up is because at this point in our journey, we are breaking apart from the traditional concepts of how to achieve the now, and we are harnessing flow and, more than that, competition to give ourselves an edge in this sort of fantastical and, I say, absurd quest to be where we actually already are. And so we're going to shift gears now and talk about someone named Seth Godin. Seth Godin is a remarkable marketer. And I was listening to a talk of his the other day, and he mentions, as he's communicating about the future of marketing and the future of industry and business to business sort of, commerce, he says that collaboration is an enormous part of the new world. And that none of us, this was the quote that stuck, none of us, not a single one of us, is smarter than all of us. And that is because of this necessity to coordinate our intelligence and coordinate our efforts that we can create the world that we know and move prosperously into the future. He then goes on to highlight a remark of some other marketer that no one knows how to build a computer mouse. No one on the planet knows how to build a computer mouse. No one knows how to generate plastics. No single person understands how the circuitry and the electricity and the technology within the mouse works. Not a single person knows all of these details and how to distribute and how to manufacture and how to formulate the product and how to sell. And so something as simple as a computer mouse can only exist through the collaboration of hundreds, if not thousands, of minds and hands. And so this is parallel to our pursuit of the absurd now. When we are entering flow, we are recruiting the entirety of our organism. We are involving aspects of our psyche and aspects of our body that we naturally push into the subconscious. And in that, when these aspects of our minds are pushed into the subconscious, the concept of the now is beyond our grasp, beyond our ability to comprehend. But when you enter flow state, which is enabled through this concept of competition, this understanding that there are rules, that there is a defined goal, when you can enter this flow state, what happens neurologically is your brain lights up in a way that it doesn't regularly. You are recruiting the entirety of the neural circuitry. You are involving the many of you, the many cells within the brain, instead of just the one of you, the ego, we can say. And so flow state becomes paramount to really understanding this confounding concept, this confounding journey of the now as a destination. So I hope that makes sense. So when we are using the idea of nature as an opponent, and I hope that's been working, that is a very helpful way of generating flow. Because again, as biological animals, competition triggers us to perform. And so I really want you to commit to this game. And if you still are maybe averse to shifting the experience of your practice, and you are still attempting to be mindful in the traditional sense, give it a shot for the next 2 weeks. That now it's not about presence, it's not about non-judgment, it's about keeping your spine tall, it's about breathing in a way that is unnatural and competing against this generated opponent we are calling nature. And I've been trying to rationalize how nature is in fact the barrier to this experience of flow. But once you start to get into the game of it and you start to experience flow state, then the mere suggestion of the now, the mere suggestion of non-judgmental presence, of being here, a deeper now, should become available. And again, why is because none of us are smarter than all of us. That when you recruit the entirety of your organism and the entirety of your psyche, subconscious and conscious mind, which is what neurologically happens in flow, these, again, very distant understandings prove to be available. Awesome. So that's it. So how are we going to generate flow? You will compete against nature. We're going to start to involve unnatural breathing, which is you're just going to breathe a little bit slower than you usually do. I'll sort of detail why that matters as you enter your practice. Okay, cool. Let's do this, everyone. Powerful seated position. So again, a very tall spine. If you're on the floor, strong legs. You want to activate, if you're in a cross-legged position, you want to activate your inner thighs, your adductors. Tighten your inner thighs, maybe 10% more, nothing much, and that's going to create some stability. From there, pull your hips forward. The spine will extend because of the angle of your hips. If you're on a couch or a chair, just sit at the very edge of the chair or couch. This will tilt the hips forward, and again, the spine will lift as a consequence. None of us are smarter than all of us. And it is through collaboration and coordination in any dimension of life that facilitates prosperity and generates leaps forward. Whether that is industry or the ecosystem of your own being. Recruit yourself. And so flow state, the experience of full absorption, which is generated through competition, has been proven to activate the entirety of the brain, has been proven to lead us to unique modes of mental coordination and collaboration. From there, the mystery and absurdity of presence becomes available. So before mindfulness flow, and so we've discussed posture. Keep the spine tall. We are wired to slump, to conserve energy, to stay in our place. But what about breath? Breathe into your belly and then your chest. 1, 2. As you exhale, feel the chest and belly recede at the same time. Because we are wired to be fearful, just look at any squirrel, any bird, any deer, even any predator. You can't just walk up to a wild animal. It will run because it is wired to mistrust. It is wired to be anxious. It is wired to survive. And so your breath is wired with this same anxiety. And if you don't manage your breath, you will find that your breath becomes more shallow. You start to breathe a bit more quickly than slowly. And so we have to create a game. a game to overcome nature. The game is simple. Breathe as you breathe, just a bit slower than usual. And in that choice to adjust the speed of your breath, you are stepping outside of nature into supernature. And now we have a game to be absorbed in, a game to generate momentum. Lengthen your spine, a millimeter. Slow down your breath, just slightly. And in that, feel the confidence, the pride, and the satisfaction of managing yourself. But notice if you stumble, if you get distracted, the spine will slump. The breath will quicken. And the negativity bias of nature will take the reins. Stay one step ahead of these instincts. Lose yourself in the competition. Stay one step ahead of nature through the game of a tall spine, the game of posture. In the game of a steady breath. In this, use what you know of mindfulness, non-judgment. Embrace gratitude. To enjoy the game. Enjoy the competition. Enjoy the moment as you are constructing it. Point is to just play the game. Worry less. Think less about the absurdity of presence. You are present. Just play the game and recruit the entirety of your mind to win. From the lead, enjoy the breath. From the lead, enjoy your tall spine. These unnatural rhythms, this unnatural posture that provides a supernatural confidence and a supernatural ease. When you feel that sense of tunnel vision, the only thing that exists is beating instinct and managing this posture and breathing rhythm. You're starting to instigate flow. And that feeling of deep focus, that feeling of full absorption, is the neurological recruitment of the entire brain. None of us is smarter than all of us. When we access this subconscious intelligence, when we allow ourselves to process more of the data our body is collecting, the absurd notion of presence makes more sense. Flow is a stepping stone into mindfulness. A couple more breaths. And now listen. Stop the game. The body holds itself. The breath breathes itself. Just listen to the now. And hopefully this inexplicable position is obvious to at least you. That somehow you are more here than you were at the beginning of our session. Because the mind has been recruited. And in that recruitment, you have created the miracle of presence as the collaboration of 1,000 hands and 1,000 minds creates the miracle of a simple computer mouse. Your practice is about harmony. With the breath in, open your eyes. Nice. Hope that made sense. Again, it's just a game. This idea of competing against nature, it is just a concept, a game that utilizes and leverages all of our instinct to compete, right? It is a universally human and animalistic instinct. Again, the Olympics are a perfect example. It actually brings us all together. It's not war, it's just a game. And so we can play this game of competition against the reality, but also the concept of nature to pull us into flow. And now as we start to understand flow a little bit more, we understand it is a recruitment of the mind. You're activating deeper aspects of your brain. Certain aspects are certainly turning off. Again, frontal something, some big term, turns off the front of your brain so you stop thinking about yourself. So some parts turn on, some parts turn off, but it is certainly a recruitment of more of your brain's ability to process. And then that notion, that confounding notion of presence becomes more available. And so I want you to think of that, the actual process, enter flow, play the game, tall spine, breathe slowly, but then shift and leverage that space, that hyper focus, to think about the presence from a new position within yourself. And then I think it should be more available.